we left off is we were talking about some popular defenses that people might challenge you with, the reasons why it's okay to have an abortion, and using what we learned about what is the unborn and our argument, how would we address those. And we talked about the woman's right to privacy with her doctor, and now we'll go on. Women should have the freedom to choose. And this is very similar to the freedom, a right to privacy. You only have freedom as far as our freedom is to choose is limited in how it affects the welfare of another human being. No one has unrestricted freedom to choose. You have to, what do you have the freedom to choose what? The what is very important. If the unborn is a human being, we do not have the freedom to choose to kill him or her. And one more thing before I go on more, I had requested some people, it's hard to take notes, there's a lot of information, so I can make this available to you guys somehow. Maybe we'll put it on the webpage, and it also took a video, we're taking a video of it too, so that I might print out some of the slides and put it on the web, or I don't know. All right, another popular defense is women shouldn't have to carry a child conceived through rape. And this is, just before I forget, Kevin Williams has a documentary called Conceived in Rape. That's very powerful if you'd like to get one of those. So the question would be, why should the child pay for the father's crime with their life? If the unborn is a human being, she should not be killed just so that the mother isn't reminded of the traumatic experience. So you could ask the person, should we allow the woman to shoot the rapist for her own emotional relief? And assuming they say no, they might say yes, but why not? Yeah. But assuming they say no, or they know they shouldn't, right? Or they could get away with it. If we can't kill the guilty party, then to make the woman feel better, then why should we be allowed to kill the innocent child for the same reason? And so then if they say, well, it's different, the rapist is a human being, then that only furthers your point that what is the unborn? It is a human being. So being human makes all the difference. And I'd also argue that having an abortion after being raped is being violated yet again. Both violate what makes a woman, and on top of the healing that you already have to do from the assault, you have to add on the healing from the abortion. And then we know that God can bring good out of evil. So the baby could be that beautiful good in that woman's life. And having that baby, whether they decide to parent or not, or give it up for adoption, is a part of the healing process from the assault. Another popular defense is making abortion illegal forces women into back alley abortions. And so let's change the crime to, say, bank robbing, okay, instead of abortion. So the fact that bank robbing is dangerous to the felon doesn't seem to be a good enough reason for making bank robbery legal. So let's make it easier for the bank robbers to rob banks, you know. Why should the law be faulted for making the killing of an innocent child risky? If the unborn is a human being and the law forbids an abortion, a woman's use of a back alley abortion would be her own choice. No one is forcing her. All right, another one is many poor women can't afford another child. And we know caring for children can be costly, but killing them is not the answer. Would it be defensible for a mother to kill a toddler who is taxing the family budget? If the unborn is a human being, killing him or her because of economic hardship is no more justifiable than killing a toddler for the same reason. And I think I have a slide on this one. Yes, there's a technique you used here, where it's called trotting out the toddler. So you ask the person who's challenging you if ask if the reason given for abortion is also a good reason to kill another human being, such as a toddler. So you replace, instead of saying the unborn, you say a toddler, or a teen, or whatever. And this continues to place the focus on the only question that matters, and what is the unborn? The unborn is a human being. Because they might say, well, that's different. To kill your 3-year-old is different because it's a human being or a human person. Yes, that's right. And so is the unborn. All right. And then another popular defense, your view forces women to become parents against their will. And no one should be forced to become a parent, but if the unborn is a human being, then the pregnant woman and her partner are already parents. No parent should escape their responsibilities by killing their unwanted child. So if the unborn is a human being, the woman is already their mother and should not be permitted to kill the child just because she doesn't want him. And this is where I would also add adoption, right? There are so many, correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but I believe there is a list of adopted families who want to adopt, and there aren't enough babies in some cases. I know in some countries it's probably different.
There are definitely many families who would love to adopt.
She said there are definitely many families who would love to adopt. When Hope Promise came to one of the campaign kickoffs, I can't remember which year now, they were talking about that there were like 10 adopted families, all the paperwork filled out, ready to go, and just waiting for a baby. Okay. What about when the mother's life is in danger? So if the unborn is not a human being, then saving the mother through an abortion is the most logical choice. If the unborn is a human being, then whatever solution that the doctors come up with must treat the unborn as fully human and fully valuable, just like the mother is. They need to remember they have 2 patients and take care of them and as they promise to do no harm. And I have information on things like ectopic pregnancies, and so if you want to talk about that with me later, go for it. Okay. I think you're going to get to skip ahead like 2 or so. No, go back, I'm sorry. Go back. All right. So we're arguing that reducing the abortion issue to the question, what is the unborn, answers all the defenses for abortion that are commonly raised. And so now I'm going to take a different tact here. Let's say this is more you're talking with somebody who's pro-abortion, and there are 4 common flaws that you'll see when you're talking with them. And the first one is that oftentimes they attack the pro-lifer instead of the argument. They know if they have to, or they're forced to defend the act of killing a baby, that they're going to lose. And so instead they attack the character of the pro-lifer to divert attention off the main issue. So for example, they'll say, it's hypocritical for you to be pro-life and make these women have these babies unless you're going to take care of all of them, or you're going to support the woman and the baby all through their life. Or they say, men shouldn't have anything to say about this because it's a woman's issue. Or you don't care that an unwanted child is going to be abused someday. So our motto, the pro-choice motto, is every child a wanted child. And the quickest way to deal with any of these attacks is to point out what they're doing with the question back to them and say, like, I'm confused. Even if you're right about my character or gender, in the case where they say you're a man, you can't talk about this, could you explain to me exactly what my character or gender has to do with whether or not it's right to kill an innocent human being? And then, on top of that, every child a wanted child, there's evil kind of disguised in there, an insidious evil in there, that says killing a child is less offensive than abusing them. Because a child might be abused someday, should we murder it now? Right? It's like saying a woman might be raped someday, so let's kill her. It doesn't make sense, right? So they offer killing the child as an antidote for abortion. For abuse, I'm sorry. They offer abortion as an antidote for abuse. And our motto is every child a valued child. So another flaw that pro-abortionists might have is they often assume the unborn is not a valuable human being. So they have to show that the unborn is not valuable in order to justify abortion on demand. And rather than proving this with facts and arguments, they simply assume it. And that's called begging the question, when you assume the very thing you ought to be proving. So, for example, the Supreme Court justices were guilty of this in the Roe v. Wade ruling. They said that no one knew when life began, or that there wasn't a consensus, and so that they would take a neutral position. And however, they did not take a neutral position at all. By saying it was all right to kill the unborn, they were saying when they thought life began, and they said they thought it began at birth, which we know is not right. So the court didn't prove that the unborn was not human, and that they were not alive. They just assumed this point and claimed neutrality while they were doing it. And that's begging the question. And then another flaw is relativism, saying, well, you have your truth, I have mine, or we should be tolerant of all views. Abortion might be wrong for you, but it could be good for someone else. And they twist the moral claim that abortion into a preferential claim, like your taste in music or clothes or ice cream. They make it more of it's just a subjective thing, not an objective thing. The view that there are no objective standards of right or wrong, only personal preferences. And it's not that we don't like abortion and that we would prefer it didn't happen, right? We think abortion is wrong, whether we like it or not. We aren't talking about subjective preferences, but objective moral claims. And we know there are things that are just morally wrong in society, and so you could replace the abortion with those other things like slavery or child abuse, rape. They're all morally wrong, and you can replace abortion with that to help them see that it is not just a preference. And then when someone says, I'm personally opposed to abortion, but I don't want to impose my view on others, that's called modified pro-choice. And you can ask them, why do you personally oppose abortion? And you'll hear their answer, and you repeat their response back to them. So let me see if I understand you. You think, you actually believe abortion kills a human child, but you think women should be allowed to kill their children if they want to? And then if they object and say, that's not what I said, say, well, please clarify and tell me, what part did I not understand? So that also gets it back into, it's not just a preference. It's morally wrong. And then the last flaw is functionalism. And this we kind of talked about already with the SLED test. So they're saying in order to be considered a person, you must function in a certain way. And we know that from talking about the SLED test earlier, that human value is intrinsic and is not dependent on a person's function. All right. And so, another thing you could do, I can ask you this, but you could also ask people that you're discussing this with, were you ever an unborn child? And it makes sense to talk about you before you were born. I remember when we were making a dresser, changing table for when we were pregnant with our oldest. And we were out in the garage and Alan started up the chop saw and it made a big loud noise and I was very pregnant and all of a sudden Grace jumped in she got scared, startled by the loud noise. And so we experienced things inside our mother's womb. And we suck our thumbs. We were all there. In abortion, you can tell them abortion would have killed you. Not a possible you, not a potential you, not a future you. An abortion would have killed you. And hopefully that makes them sad, right? So, do anyone have any questions? Other experiences you want to share?